It's starting to become obvious that Donald Trump is planning a coup around the 2026 midterm elections, which may be remembered as a turning point in American history, not just because of the political stakes, but because they may determine whether the country continues to function as a constitutional democracy at all. For Donald Trump, these elections represent more than another partisan battle. They are an existential threat. If Democrats take control of Congress, a tidal wave of investigations would almost certainly follow, pulling into the light years of corruption, grift, and questionable dealings by Trump, his family, and his inner circle. Like many authoritarian rulers, Trump now finds himself in the trap of his own corruption. He cannot afford to lose power. To relinquish office would be to invite criminal prosecution and potentially prison. That dynamic has played out in Russia with Vladimir Putin, who knows that stepping down would expose him to the full force of the law. Trump faces the same dilemma. For him, as in 2024 and winning this presidential election, clinging to office has become synonymous with survival. What makes the current moment so alarming is not just the stakes, but the brazenness of the methods being employed. Trump is not hiding his efforts to tilt the playing field. He's doing it openly, daring his opponents to stop him. He's demanded that Republican-led states redraw congressional maps in ways that guarantee new Republican districts outside of the normal redistricting cycle. In effect, Trump is insisting on bonus seats to pad his party's majority. Unlike the backroom manipulations of past politicians, he has said it plainly, "Give me more seats." And Texas lawmakers, rather than resisting, have already moved legislation to comply. At the same time, Trump has launched a full assault on mail-in ballots. According to him, the idea came from none other than Vladimir Putin, who mocked America for allowing voting by mail. While many advanced democracies around the world use it without issue, Trump sees mail-in ballots as a threat. In 2020, during the pandemic, Democrats disproportionately voted by mail. Although that gap narrowed in 2024, Trump remains convinced that restricting mail ballots will tilt the outcome in his favor. He has promised to issue executive orders banning mail voting, a move he has no constitutional authority to make, but one that could nonetheless carry weight if Republican governors and legislatures follow his lead. The danger lies in the power of perception. If Trump can convince his supporters that his authority is legitimate, then for practical purposes, it becomes real. The same logic applies to his preparation for the outcome of the election itself. Trump has never admitted defeat in any contest, and there is no reason to believe he would start in 2026. He is positioning himself to declare certain states or districts corrupt and nullify their results. By spreading the narrative that only he can decide which votes count, Trump sets the stage to undermine the legitimacy of the election altogether. His goal is not to win fairly, but to remain in power by discrediting the process. And this is where the danger becomes most acute. Not since Hitler's infamous brown shirts has a leader of a modern capitalist democracy moved so openly to create a private political army. A new executive order crafted with the help of Trump's far-right advisor, Stephen Miller, has created special law and order National Guard units that report directly to the President and the Secretary of Defense, bypassing state governors who traditionally command the Guard. This unprecedented move allows Trump to summon troops into Democratic-controlled cities under the pretext of quelling domestic disturbances. The order goes even further. It authorizes the recruitment of civilian volunteers with law enforcement or other relevant backgrounds to operate alongside federal law enforcement. In practice, this would amount to a government-sanctioned MAGA militia, answerable only to Trump. Washington, D.C. has been designated the first deployment site, but the order makes clear these forces can be sent whenever circumstances necessitate to other cities deemed to have lost public safety and order. The definition of lost order rests entirely on Trump's discretion. Chicago has already been floated as a likely next target. What emerges from these maneuvers, manufactured seats, restricted voting, the claim of unilateral authority to declare results, and the mobilization of a loyalty paramilitary force is a blueprint for dismantling American democracy from within. Trump is not playing chess or carefully planning every move. He is acting instinctively, as an authoritarian to his core. But instinct or not, the pieces are falling into place. Critics warn that the danger lies not only in the steps themselves, but in their normalization. If Americans become accustomed to seeing troops in the streets, if they shrug off the appearance of deputized vigilante forces, if they accept executive orders that stretch constitutional limits, then the ground will have been prepared for Trump or someone like him to cross the Rubicon. First, normalize masked police forces, then normalize kidnappings from the street, then normalize the National Guard patrolling cities, then finally federalize them. By the time an election crisis arrives, the apparatus of repression is already entrenched. The outcome of 2026 is not predetermined. Democrats could win the popular vote decisively, perhaps even in numbers too large to manipulate away. But Trump has shown that losing the vote does not mean relinquishing power. What matters is whether institutions and the public are willing to resist his efforts to delegitimize and override the process. To be forewarned is to be prepared. The United States is heading into a moment that may well rival the great constitutional crises from the past, from the Civil War to Watergate. The difference now is that the threat comes not from shadowy conspiracies or rogue actors, but from the president himself. The trajectory is visible. The destination is clear. Unless checked, the 2026 election could mark not a peaceful transfer of power, but the consolidation of an authoritarian regime backed by a personal army. The path forward is not resignation. It's resistance. Citizens must rally now, pressing their elected representatives to uphold the Constitution and refusing to accept authoritarian maneuvers disguised as law and order. Democracy is not defended by silence. It is defended by vigilance and collective courage. Trump may gamble with America's institutions to preserve himself, but he cannot be allowed to gamble with the stability of the world. NATO and the democratic nations that once stood as the backbone of the free world, now led ironically by Canada, will not allow him to recklessly endanger global security for his own survival. The responsibility at home lies with us, the people, to ensure that our leaders act with courage, that Congress is held to account, and that America does not trade its future for the vanity of one man who is deteriorating in front of our very eyes. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.